Hi everyone. I recently went for a diving trip to Tioman, and I thought I'll take this opportunity to just take you through how the whole trip was, and how do we get started with scuba diving if we needed to. Right. So the first step, obviously, is to do some kind of research to understand what are the various options that you have in your locality. So I'm based out of Singapore right now. So I started searching with my friends, and Southeast Asia is quite famous for scuba diving. So I had an opportunity to speak to a couple of friends and did a lot of research online. Uh, I think that one of the most important part of the whole discussion is to understand, the whole trip is to understand, to decide on which institute do you want to go with. The instructor really matters, and fortunately, because of the people I spoke to, I was able to identify a very good diving institute and a very good instructor. So I signed up with Blue Reef Diving, and the instructor's name is Asher. He was absolutely brilliant. I'll put in the details of the dive institute and the address in the comments. However, I think the first step is obviously to contact them and register for this open water diving course. Based on timelines, based on various availability, they would let you know when is the next trip. There are two kinds of trips that I'm not an expert, but I could understand. One is obviously where you stay in a hotel and then go diving. The second one is where you have a live on board option, where you are basically living on the boat itself. Even though the option I got was LOB, which is live on board. Even though I was skeptical in the beginning, I once I completed the trip, I really felt that it would be one of the best options to do, because you're right there on the boat and diving. All your stuff is there, so you don't need to go back and forth. You don't need, if you forget something, you always have accessibility to it, right? So once you sign up, then the institute would obviously register you, and then you would receive an email from PADI, provided you're taking the certification from PADI, with a course. So you have to go through an online course, which is I think it took me probably maybe around 4 or 5 hours. It's got some tests as a part of it. Once you have done that, then you will have a pool session. The pool session for me was conducted by Stefan. I believe Asha was not available on that day because he had COVID. So pool session essentially takes you through all the skills you need to be confident when you enter the water in an open in the sea, right? So basically things like you will be looking at regulator recovery, how to breathe through the regulator, how to clear your mask in case it starts fogging up, how what is the in case the mask comes off, how would you put it back and then exhale so that the water goes out of it. Also, in case of you run out of air, how do you get out of it, right? So these are the things which kind of which they take you through the pool session. And it also checks how comfortable you are in the water. They also gives the instructor a gauge of how well you will behave, or whether you will panic when you are in the open sea. This is a very controlled environment, so you are more comfortable here, and for sure you're safe. But unlike in a sea, so always there is a controlled environment that is used for training, and then later on they use it in the open water. The bag is packed and ready. I'm all set to go. So it's a 2-day diving trip, going in from Singapore to Malaysia, and then going to be living on the boat. So the bag is already set to go, and let's hope for the best. So this is Blue Reef Scuba Diving Center. This is located at number 12 Bushra Street. I believe it's very next to Arab Street. This is we are at the Tuas checkpoint. We just cleared the Tuas checkpoint. It took 3.5 hours from there to reach the jetty. Since the boat, the MV Safari Shark, is quite big, it couldn't come to the jetty, so we had to take a smaller boat to reach the MV Safari Shark. So we are currently in transit. It's a pretty choppy, bumpy ride because it was a full moon day, and there was the water was very rough. Not rough, I would say choppy, and that's the MV Safari Shark. We are entering the living area right now. It's very spacious, the living area, air conditioned, and it was a lot of food, not food. I believe a lot of drinking, tea, coffee, everything is available there. As you go further down on the right, you have a shower area, and then that's the crew bunks for the crew, is what I heard. Then towards the left bottom, you go further down, you have two rooms on the left, four bunks each. This is mine. Then there's on one on the left again another four bunks in here. Then you have one other room with three bunks on the left. That's what I could see, and then another room with four bunks. So I believe that's around 15 bunks plus the crew bunks. So I think around 20 people quite comfortable in this, right? And we have washed two bathrooms outside, always running water, pretty neat. Even though the rooms look small, it really doesn't matter much because we don't spend too much time in those rooms anyways, because it's very cozy to sleep in after the dive. Most of the time you're outside in the upper deck, chilling and relaxing. This is me in the bunk. I just fit perfectly in those. And Asher is welcoming us on board. That's him in the black dress. And this is I believe early morning. I just woke up a little early. I was a little seasick, so I woke up a little earlier than the rest. I had a seasick tablet. So if you have seasickness, it'll be good for you to have a tablet even before you go to bed, right? Then we started preparing for our dives. I believe most of them were leisure drivers, so which means they do four dives in that day, 3 to 4 dives based on conditions. As an open water, I would do three dives again based on condition on day one, and then two on day two. So this is the way all the tanks are being prepared and ready. So that's a good thing about LOB, right? And then the breakfast is right there. So we are not wasting time on any of this because the boat is moving to the dive location and we are having food or getting ready for the dive. And the water started calming down a little bit, and this is the view from the upper deck, the open deck. Actually, there's a covered canopy deck, which is where we chill out. And then there's an open deck if you want to have a suntan, if you really want to do that. And it's a very good weather at this point in time. And then we were just preparing for the dive. You can see people relaxing after breakfast, and then Asher gathered all of us and started giving us the dive briefing. So this is especially for the divers who are going by themselves. They always have a dive master with them. However, Asher gives them tips on the location, what to expect, what is the bottom time, all those kind of things. I'm sure divers would understand it. For me, as a first time, I really didn't understand much, but then I didn't have to worry also because I was going with Asher and he was making sure that I would be safe, right? So the first dive, he didn't let me take my camera because I was doing the skills. That's where I did the same things that you did in the pool, like the regulator recovery, cleaning of the mask, and you need both your hands. So he didn't let me take my camera, but for the second dive, he did. So this is the second dive, and that's my dive partner. We were the only two doing open water course, that is Iris. So we just did our skills, and then we were going to continue with the fun dive. And this is Asher recording us. And we do our Superman. There we go. So that's liftoff. This is the first time I'm actually diving. Right. Until now, we would more like be standing or kneeing down, but this is where we start actually finning towards Asher, and then from there on, further out. So this is going to be a 50 minutes dive approximately. That's completely based on how much you breathe. And they look at, but the average time I noticed is around 45 to 50 minutes. So even for the experienced divers, that's what they normally spend on each dive. Right. And one of the good thing about having a very experienced diver instructor like Asher is he makes sure that we are comfortable. He keeps checking whether you're okay every few minutes in the initial parts. He turns around. You can see even adjusting her Iris's mask and making sure that we are comfortable. He's able to recognize when we are in discomfort and then guide us appropriately. He's got, from what I understood, he's got more than 5,000 dives. So from the way I see it, he's more comfortable underwater than on land. And that shows in the way he glides through water. His buoyancy level is unbelievable, whereas where we are struggling to keep our buoyancies, making sure that we don't go too much down or too up, right? We started seeing a lot of these marine life. The coral is pretty sharp, so during the first couple of dives, we're going to be a little more conscious in terms of how much. How much buoyancy we have. Are we going down too much or going up? So I wouldn't say the first 2-3 dives I was really looking for the fishes or the marine life. I was more controlling on my breathing and making sure that while I did see all this, but more concentration was on yourself, your breathing, how well you are moving, and as you start getting more and more comfortable, then you start having a good time, and I've started looking up. I think it took me at 3 to 4 dives. So this is something he showed us. I really don't know what it is. I wanted to ask him later, but I completely forgot. So he did touch that one, but he did tell us not to touch this one, which is that blue thing there. He said it's poisonous. So basically, simple rule: keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch things which you're not sure about, right? I think it's very good to respect marine life and make sure that you're not disturbing them. It's good to watch, good to enjoy it, but do not disturb them. Every time Basher picks up something, he makes sure that he puts it back in the exact same place, right? That's very commendable, very professional of him. He makes sure that nothing is disturbed, right? And then we are almost towards the end of first dive. And then we end the dive. I think this was 47 minutes, if I'm not wrong. And then we go on board. It was, I think we had a surface time of close to 2 hours. I'm sorry, 1.5 hours. And then we went for the third dive at Chiban, which is Tioman itself. So this one was slightly more deeper. I believe the first dive was less than 10 meters. The second dive was around 12. This is around 15, if I'm not wrong. Right. The water is a little bit murkier. The visibility is slightly lower. A lot of suspended particles, but it's absolutely calming, I would say. You never get to see these things in other than when you go down or on TV. So when you really get an opportunity to see this, it's really calming. And in most of the time, you can hear yourself breathe, and you are. It's a very serene environment, I would say. I don't know, maybe lack of words. I'm not able to find the right words for it, but it feels really good. I mean, that's the simplest way I can put it, right? A lot of fishes, a lot of different kind of marine life. Even though in the video it looks extremely murky, when you are really diving, it is not that bad, because I think we don't see these very small particles, but the camera is able to pick it up. So that's probably why it looks so different on camera. But when I was actually diving, it didn't look so bad, right? It was still comparatively better. And this dive was again 50 minutes. I was definitely consuming a lot of air, and it's not uncommon to have extreme high consumption of air during the first dives. And as you get experienced, your air consumption gets better. That's Nemo there. I think lionfish, as they call it, but I'm not sure if that's a name. I'm sorry if I've got it wrong, but. And the air consumption definitely was a factor on which decides how long we stay underwater. And every time we keep checking the air, and I was definitely consuming more air than Iris. So we had to be very careful. I had to be very careful. I had to keep looking at my air gauge. So it is common for us to consume more air, and as you get more experience, you learn not to waste air. And it's a sport for a lazy man, as somebody put it. But it needs a lot of control and a lot of practice. So one of the things I'm planning to do is to go on and to get my advanced PADI certification, right? So I did an open water, which qualifies me to dive up to 18 meters, but then that does not include night dive or anything for below 18 meters. Recreational high diving depth is 40 meters. If you do an advanced, I believe you can go down to that, and then there's a bunch of other courses which makes you more prepared. And then obviously there is the professional ranks, which is like of the dive master and the instructors. I don't think I'll be going down that path, but recreational diving, I do plan to do my advance as soon as I can. And I think it'll be also good if you definitely try it out first, and then if it would be good if you if you would like to invest on a couple of gear. For example, my mask was not the best fit in the initial parts, and then Asha had to change it. So once he changed it, it was better, but still not the best fit. So I felt it would have been more comfortable if I had a perfect fitting mask. But you can't figure it out unless you actually try it on and you try using it. So it takes time and experience. So this is called a safety stop. So when we go below 10 meters, before we go back up, there's a safety stop of 3 minutes at 5 meter depth, which prevents decompression issues, right? So that's dive 3 for us on day 1, right? And then once we are done with this, we headed off to Tioman Islands. Right, so Tioman Islands is more about it's just it's a lot of dive centers or resorts available, and a lot of food places. So we just went there for a couple of hours, picked up some souvenirs, and Ramli Burgers, I believe, was one of their specialities there, and they had something called a divers burger, diver special or something like that. A very very filling burger. I think two patties, two eggs, two cheeses, two of everything basically. And then I picked up a few souvenirs from their ice creams. Just spent some time with our friends. Like I said, the group was really really good. The most of them were extremely experienced and enthusiastic divers, which kind of spread to me as well. I got inspired by them, and I would definitely want to try and do more diving as much as I can, and to want to look up my advanced courses at the earliest. So beautiful sunset, and then dinner. Of course, then food has to be commended on board. Amazing chef. Overall, the staff is really really good. The staff on board, and I should put up this birthday party for one of our divers, and then when again back to sleep. Same as the first day, I woke up extremely early before everyone else. Maybe it's just I'm not able to catch enough sleep, but I was not tired, but I just woke up early. So I thought I'll take the opportunity to just record the pantry area and the upper deck because nobody was there. So this is the pantry or the dining area with the pantries full of coffee, tea, Milo, whatever drinks you want. There's hot water always available, and then you have the upper covered patio or the deck, which is with lounge chairs where you can relax, and then further up is your open deck for your sun bath or suntan or whatever you call it. Then it started. Obviously, best time to take some pictures. So this was just sunrise. So the first dive was planned for around 7 a.m. But we couldn't do that because at that time, because the location that we chose was a little bit there was a little bit current there, I believe. So we had to move to another location. So we moved to this marine park location, and this is our dive 3. And what I just did is called a giant stride. So basically, I think a big step or whatever, that's the way of entering the water when you're from a boat. And this is Safari Shark, MV Safari Shark, the boat. Right. This particular dive site, again, the bottom is silt. We went up to a depth of 17.6 meters. This had a broken shipwreck. No, I wouldn't say a ship. I would say a broken boat wreck. Right. Basically, a boat which is sunk and kind of disintegrated. It's perfect area for the fishes to breed. And again, like I said, when you have a silk bottom and we are not experienced divers, the second you touch your fins on the bottom, it kicks up all the silt and then the water becomes murky. Unless you're really, really experienced and you know exactly how to control your buoyancy, there are chances that you might touch the bottom. And it happened quite a bit for me. And that was why sometimes you see a lot of murky footages, right? And then the Asher is picking up something else there. I really don't know the name again. That's one thing I just need to start doing. I need to start having this post-diving discussion to figure out what did we see, what kind of animal that is. That'll be a really interesting conversation to have. So still further down, and then this is where we kind of went ahead and fed some fishes, using bread and to kind of attract them towards us. That's really really fun actually. All of those fishes coming towards us. Right, so this is the last dive for the second last dive. The last dive, the fifth dive. Stupid mistake. I did not configure my camera properly. Even though I had the camera, I could not record footages. So another lesson learned. We just need to make sure that your equipment is working before you jump into the water. And then, so the fifth dive, I don't have recording. That's exactly where we saw a shark in that dive. Since I don't have a footage, not many people believe me, but I have two witnesses and I can get them to vouch for it if you really wanted to. But yes, we saw a very small black tip shark. I believe that's the resident shark in that area. But however, the night dives, when the leisure divers went for the night dive, they did see a bamboo shark and a black tip shark, and they have recordings of it. I didn't want to include them here, but so definitely that is something which you can cite. I believe the night dives is one of the best dives to do but for that, as an open water diver, the first course you really cannot do it unless you are advanced, right? And it's risky as well. Could be claustrophobic. So after the fifth dive, back onto the boat, 3.5 hours ride back to the jetty, and then another 3.5 hours ride to the Tuas checkpoint, and then back to Singapore, right? So essentially a weekend trip, worth it. It's not very expensive, right? You should definitely try it. I would, if you have not subscribed for the channel, please do so and hit the like button if you like the video. It will definitely inspire me to create more videos. Thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.